We've been talking for months. How could the Secret Service have a failure on such a massive scale and allow a shooter 150 yards away to take 8 well-placed shots at President Trump in broad daylight and then almost pull off something that hadn't been done since JFK? Well, today I'm going to tell you exactly why. Because a lot of the people that were there doing the protection weren't even supposed to be there, and you will not believe the amount of training that they actually had to do a job like this. Now, of course, I'm going to fill you in on all these details. I'm also going to lace my opinion in this video like I do in every one. I want to hear yours. No matter if you agree or disagree, let me know what you think after the video. If you like what I do, consider subscribing. Let's go and get into it. Now, this information is coming from Senator Josh Hawley, who fortunately is amongst one of the few people that is still continuing to probe and get information from whistleblowers. Because if you're looking to the FBI and the Secret Service to give you information, yeah, good luck with that. It's almost like they're playing a waiting game. So let's just kind of, keep investigating, wait, and maybe the public interest will die down enough in it, and it won't make us look that bad. Well, again, fortunately, there's some people out there that are staying on top of it. And what he told Jesse Waters just yesterday, depending on when you're seeing this video, is that whistleblowers are telling him that most of the personnel that was there protecting President Trump were not even Secret Service. They were actually Department of Homeland Security.
So what now are we hearing from whistleblowers, Senator?
Well, what I've heard tonight, Jesse, is that most of the agents who were there at that rally in Butler were not Secret Service agents. They were, in fact, Homeland Security agents.
Now you may be thinking, well, I guess that's okay, right? Department of Homeland Security, they're used to this kind of thing. Well, not really, because they were actually pulled off of child exploitation cases and stuff like that, not security detail. They had never done security detail. And as a matter of fact, the training that they received to work this rally was a 2-hour video in which most of the video had no audio to go along with it.
A 2-hour online webinar, and I'm told that about half the time, the sound to the webinar didn't even work. So think about this. The President of the United States, former President of the United States, Donald Trump, is sent out on stage. Most of the people there aren't trained. They're not qualified. They only got a webinar training, and even that didn't work. It is absolutely outrageous.
So it's like, hey, I know you guys are used to working child exploitation and all that kind of stuff, which is phenomenal. I'm glad people are doing that. But then they say, hey, we're going to pull you off of this and you're going to watch this incredible video. It's almost like, when I worked in fast food, right? You would watch this, 30-minute video, right? And it would be all this basic stuff.
Why we've had so much success. Our entrees are always cooked exquisitely to perfection. Our desserts were designed by gourmet chefs.
Now, I'm not comparing fast food to the Secret Service by any means, but that's what you're going to provide as a security or as training for an event like this. Not only that, an outdoor event with one of the most targeted people in the world, and the fact that Iran is already making threats against Trump as well. So we're going to show you this video. Most of the audio isn't going to work, but that's okay. You guys go out there and make sure you keep one in the chamber, boys, and we'll be good to go. And unfortunately, a man lost his life, a very well-respected firefighter that we know about, Corey, and also 2 others were injured, and of course, President Trump was shot. This, to me, we've said it multiple times, but this, to me, is unacceptable. We haven't heard anything like this from acting director Ronald Rowe, right? And that seems like pretty important information that you would put out there. Because the Secret Service, when they go through training, from what I understand, it's 6 months at the academy, then you go to a boot camp in Maryland, then you go to New Mexico for 3 months, then you go back to Maryland for 3 more months. You have things like water training, you have vehicle simulators where they turn you upside down, you have real world scenarios, you have computer generated scenarios with attackers coming at you. You of course have live fire training, you even have tear gas training as well. All of it is designed to keep your protectee safe, right? Because like they said in this training video that I watched, I think Insider did an edition on the Secret Service. If Secret Service has a bad day, people die and the entire world can change. And this hasn't happened since JFK, and unfortunately, we came just a millimeter from the entire world being changed and our country being changed because, like I've said, and I'll say it again, if President Trump were to have gotten killed that day, this country would have never been the same. So I thank God that that did not happen. And so they cannot fail, right? And according to my math, I'm not the best at math, but that means you have almost a year and a half worth of training before you go out and you actually train the president. I actually watched that video. I watched the whole thing through. It was really interesting on the Secret Service. They actually have like a partial replica of Air Force One to go through training scenarios there as well. They wouldn't allow them in the replica of Air Force One, but I thought that was pretty cool. So these guys go through intense amounts of training, thousands of rounds fired, and just different scenarios to be able to handle events like this. And when it's an outdoor event, of course, the threat escalation, right? If we're going to put it on a meter, it goes way up. It has to, because there's just certain areas that you can't control. And unfortunately, at that time, they weren't putting bulletproof glass around President Trump. Now, this is nothing against the Department of Homeland Security. And really, this is nothing against the Secret Service agents that were on the ground. I haven't seen a single thing that makes me think that anybody except for like the site agent that was there, the upper management, including probably Ronald Rowe, Kim Cheadle, and others that are kind of trying to, I don't know if they're necessarily trying to bury this stuff, but they're definitely just trying to let some time pass before they release this information out there. I think all of those on the higher level, including the site manager, some of the people that have been let go that we talked about on paid leave, obviously those people, they did something wrong enough, and this was a complete disaster where those people need to be fired. But some of the people, or a lot of the people on the ground, or a lot of the Secret Service agents that take this stuff very seriously, again, this is nothing against them. It's clear that they, take their job very seriously. But there's been one since 1901, when their protection started, that has actually been assassinated. Department of Homeland Security was created in 2002. They combined a bunch of agencies. Their thing is keeping America safe, right? Obviously their job involves security. One interesting thing I found on their website is they have statements about climate change, right? And then Secretary Mayorkas comes on and he talks about climate change and, we're going to, have 50% of our fleet as electric vehicles by 2030, and we care about the environment, and that affects other people, migration status coming to the United States. And it almost sounded like a political speech from a organization that should not be political. But it's clear that the values or the jobs that they have, right, between Secret Service, right, and protective detail anyways, because Secret Service does do other things, right, counterfeiting and stuff like that, but it's clear that they have separate roles, and you can't just take them from this department and say, okay, you're going to do this over here. Now, if you have, a bunch of highly trained police officers, maybe they could step into a role like that, but there's still certain things that you have to look out for, you have to be prepared for, and it's clear to me, at least from what I've seen, the level of training Secret Service goes through compared to some of these other agencies. It is unacceptable that they would ever be put in that role, ever be put in that position, and also have a 2-hour video put in front of them where half of the time the audio didn't even work. So if you haven't agreed that people at Secret Service need to be fired, if you haven't agreed that they, had just a massive failure, this to me is the nail in the coffin that just really shows how little they care about the safety of President Trump specifically. Now, I'm not going to sit there and say that DHS or Secret Service wanted to have him killed, but what I am saying is that they could care less if anything happened to him. The major Republican candidate, and has been for a while, the first-time counter snipers were ever used at his rally, and it was half of what was actually requested. The request for more agents, denied. And then they throw in Department of Homeland Security that's never worked security detail with absolutely zero training. They could care less what happened to President Trump. And just again, thank God he turned his head there when he did. So there you go, man. That's my opinion, and I'd love to hear yours. No matter if you agree or disagree, let me know what you think down below. If you like what I do, consider subscribing. See you in the next one, and as always, hold 'em down.